problems and you calling in and problems that are created in the field. I just have one example of that and how to deal with it. You have boiler issues and NTI resolutions for problems that we may or may not have had with our boilers. And of course, NTI parts availability. Field problems. I always like to start here because everybody assumes different things. So advice from a long-term listener and a first-time caller, Bill Mackey. I'm sorry I didn't capitalize your last word, your last name, Bill. But Bill says, look wide, look narrow, and then look wide again. So make sure that you get a second set of eyes on your job and look all around. Test out before and after your repairs. And this is really important. We replaced on a TFT boiler the other day. They had just replaced the blower a year ago. It was giving all sorts of error codes that made no sense. So it told me that the motherboard had gotten wet. So I simply sent the motherboard, had a motherboard sent to them under warranty. They replaced the motherboard. And within 15 minutes, we cycled it for 4 times while I was on the phone and through domestic hot water. And after that, the contractor left, everything was running. And 30 minutes later, it failed again. And this time it was the blower. So I'm thinking that the inside of this unit got pretty wet by somebody in the basement, and it wasn't us, and it was not the contractor. So then next, take the time to document the condition of the system and the equipment around that could affect the appliance. Yep, take a look at everything around it. That includes everything attached to the boiler, everything in the boiler room, everything that's running in the house. You could have an old
double thumbs up.
Double thumbs up on that one.
Double. You know what? Today, what you just said, I gotta tell you, Uncle Steve, because I was interested to tell you, because that's why I asked you about how many warnings are in a manual. I went to a job today where somebody showed me a picture. I'm gonna send you, and you're gonna tell me the same thing. It's magnetite, and the guy says, "Well, that doesn't say it in the manual." Almost fell over.
Oh yeah, it does. Hi, Ted.
Hey, sorry I'm late, boys. I got some technical difficulties.
Hey, it's okay. All right. It's okay. I hope it's not prostate. Oh, you didn't say testicle. You said technical. You said technical. I'm sorry. So, I misheard you, Ted. I'm sorry. So, anyway, next up, don't assume that the install was done correctly nor maintained since the installation. And this is something my tech department assumes that it was put in by the I&O manual. But it's really important that if you're the new guy, because the old guy's not there anymore, and the customer called you because their boiler is having a problem and you didn't install it, try to find out who the last guy was, because maybe they left because of other problems. So whether it be payment or whatever the situation may be, it's always nice to get a hold of the last contractor. So, and ask why that part failed. This is something we do a lot. I cut things apart here at my house in front of contractors and with contractors, and I'm more than happy to show you how they failed, and so is my office. Ted disappeared. Huh. Oh, he's back again.
Yeah, I'm having some weird problems. Sorry.
Okay. Well, it's all right, Ted. So field problems. You were in a rush trying to get in here. I thank you for joining us. So field problems. Advice from me on field problems. So this is how I look at things. Always consider first to call our technical line, 1-800-688-2575 extension 1. Reach out to your wholesalers TSA group. They sold it to you, and most wholesalers have a technical service advisor group that they'll come out and actually help you on the job.
Now, see, that's important that you tell them that, because they need it. The wholesaler needs to be in the loop, because they're sometimes in the dark when they're talking to you and I or Ted. So they need to be in the loop.
Yep. Consider calling your local manufacturer's rep. All of my reps have somebody technical on staff that can help you out and come to job sites. Ted's reps are pretty much the same way. So we're here to help you, and they're here to help you. Always feel free to call Jason, Ted, and me. And I know for a fact that the other day that one of my customers could not reach me and knows Ted through 62 episodes of Thirsty Thursday, and he picked up the phone and called Ted. Ted helped him out, and I get a text message as I'm walking out of my corporate meeting that says simply, "Don't bother calling me. I talked to Ted and he solved my problem." Woo, it was great. It was excellent. And thank you, Ted, for doing that. And
Sure. We're all, that's one thing. I mean, we got a great team, and we treat it like a team.
And I've done the same for Ted. Ted and I have covered each other's butt. Jason's done the same for Ted and I.
Jason does it for everybody.
Mm-hmm. So our technical department assumes that you RTFM'd first, and that's read the factory manual first. I
Hey,
used to say a word that reminds with duck there, but I've learned to be politically
yeah,
correct and say factory
yeah,
manual.
yeah, change that. But let's go back to the team effort. We're such a team that when we go up to the factory, Ted gets to sit in the passenger seat, and everybody else sits in the second row, and I get my own seat in the back. I can sleep. Up to the factory from Bangor, Maine, 3 hour drive, right, Steve?
2.5 hours, and we'll see you on the 10th. Okay, good.
Yeah.
The 10th is the day of our meetings. We're going up the 9th, buddy. I think, or the 8th. We're going up the 8th. That's what it is. So anyway, our technical department assumes when you call that you read and followed the manual and installed your boiler correctly. Now, this is important. Ted, Jason, and I are all past contractors. I'm just a plumber. Ted, I met Ted through the heating industry because Ted had his own business doing hydronic heating. I met Jason as a service tech before he became service manager at an oil dealer. So we all don't, the three of us on the screen, don't assume anything. So please, when you talk to our tech department, and if they do what I'm about to show you and they troubleshoot something incorrectly, it isn't their fault all the time. So field problems. Here's one that I just had this week. Most recent scenario was on a FTVN 110 combi. I was probably 300 miles from my house. I had a great contractor who called me up, and she's just very thorough, very good. She's being thrown out on a lot of jobs for her boss that she didn't install, so she doesn't know what she's walking into. And she said the domestic hot water only works when there is a heating call on a combi. When there's no heating call, the boiler pressure drops to 0. So now it goes off on a low pressure error, which we know is a 108, but it doesn't matter. It's a low pressure error and the boiler won't fire. What was the cause? So Jason, if you would you bring up poll question number 1? Can you, or do you want me to do it? Or Ted, do you want to do poll question 1? Who wants to do it?
Let me get to it. I got it. Poll question. Ted can read it. I'll bring it up. Poll question number 1. Boom! Launch that bad boy. We ain't launched these in a long time. I gotta
He
clean
is
All
with
right.
Tyler, isn't he? Jesus.
Quick poll here. What is the zero pressure reason? What's the reason for that zero pressure? A bad fill valve, a bad pressure switch, a bad expansion tank, or wrong air pressure, or incorrect piping? Sounds like 5
Okay.
choices, but really it's only 4 because tank and pressure go together.
Right.
Yes.
So how's that going, boys? Is everybody answering the questions?
Looks like we've
I think going good.
got 71%.
33% change, 25 on field. Bad.
76% have voted.
Yeah.
Incorrect piping is in the lead. Time's up. 1 minute. Here we go. 31% incorrect piping. 23% bad expansion tank or wrong air pressure. 15% say bad pressure switch. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a tie. I'm missing something. Bad fill valve. Ties at 31.
Wow. Well, this is awesome. This is great.
Yeah.
This is really good. You can end the poll, Jason. And
All
Ted,
right, so
your microphone's going in and out. So just so you know.
Yeah, I've had all kinds of problems here tonight.
This
shouldn't be talking.
This is how I started with the contractor, with the tech on the field. So this is how I started. Now, let me go back here and say that my office said it was a bad pressure switch and we'll send you a new pressure switch. In the meantime, she said, let me call Steve. So she said, because I've helped her out before, so she called me. And these are the questions I asked. And I said, is the boiler piped primary, secondary? And she said yes. Not yes. She just said yes. I said, "Is the fill valve turned on?" And she said yes. And I said, "How many zones? And are you zoned with zone valves or circulators?" And she said 3 zone valves and a pump. And my final question to her was, where is the expansion tank located
That's
in
the
the S
question.
series coming off the boiler? So let's go to the next 2 slides. So here is our
That's
installation manual. This is right out of the installation manual. You can see here's the boiler.
Yeah,
Here's your low loss header. Here's your
fine.
expansion tank fill and microbubble air absorber. And here's your pump.
right.
So I'm talking to her about this, and I'm trying to make her see in her mind's eye what I'm trying to explain. And she says, I said, "Tell me what you have coming off the low loss header going towards the system of the pump." And she explained this. Now, I know this is a 1 zone drawing because I didn't draw in all the zone valves, but she explained this, which is
Uh-oh.
here's the boiler, here's the pump, here's the microbubble expansion tank and fill valve. And I said to her, I said to her, I said, if you go back in and switch the pump and the expansion tank, it will work. And she said, why? I said, because when you have a heating call, let me go to this one. This
She made
this
worse.
circulator had an internal check valve on it. When the heating calls, the pressure goes up to now it sees the expansion tank. The pressure, because the expansion tank serves 2 purposes. It creates your pressure and it gives you expand area for the water to expand in. When that check
No
valve
pressure.
opens up, it sees the tank now. It can make the pressure, it goes to 18 psi. It runs just fine, but as soon as the circulator turns off, the check valve closes, the boiler sees no more pressure. So I said to her to simply rip the check valve out for now and tell your guys to go back in and repipe it later. You want to get off the job. It's Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock. Take your needle nose plier, take that check valve, take the pump out 4 bolts, rip that check valve out because you don't need it with zone valves. Rip the check valve out.
Move the pump. That I would have moved the pump.
Put the circulator back in and tell your guys to go back next week and repipe it the way that we show in our installation and operation manual. This is a very typical
story.
call. What's that, Ted?
I say the short story is you absolutely never pump into the expansion tank.
That's because it sucks air. It will create air to be sucked into the system. That is like the biggest. That's why I was doing the Holy Cross, because I'm like, holy moly, you just did 2 of the worst things in the world. Number one is you're pumping in. Go back. Thank Uncle Steve. You're pumping into an expansion tank, which you should not be doing because certain boilers, depending on how they're configured, will isolate the expansion tank depending on their operational mode. So this was. Well, you had the best one of all, Steve. You had the best one of all.
So
You had the
I
best.
suggest if you've never gotten it and if you haven't read it, that you buy Dan Holohan's Pumping Away. I think when that book came out, it explained the world to me in a very easy way and changed my entire outlook on piping boilers and what an expansion tank does in a very easy and simple manner. It was the best $20 I ever paid. So buy it,
Absolutely,
enjoy it.
One of the
best book out there.
books written for the hydronic industry.
Yes, it is.
That was one art that Dan has. He can talk to anybody and educate you. If you read his books, you can tell that by the way he writes a book. When you read it, he's talking to the technician like we all do. That's what you got to do. Steve, what you just did there with that lady, you educated her. See what I'm saying? You educate.
I was 400 miles away, and I can guarantee, and I haven't looked to see if she's online tonight, but I can guarantee that one of the next things I'm doing tomorrow, I haven't had the time this week, is to buy and send her, because she understood by me just talking to her, she understood the fact of what she needed to do, handled it, and 30 minutes later, she sent me a text going, "The system's working, everything's cool, thank you so much, I'll talk to you later." So how fun's that, right?
That's great. See, now that's a win. Win-win. That's a win-win right there.
Yep. So a question came in, says the system wasn't working properly from the beginning. That's right, Bill Mackey. The system would only make domestic hot water if they had a heating call. So before they went and got a shower, they turned the thermostat on, which would open the check valve, which would let the boiler come on, and the expansion would keep the check valve open enough just so they could see the expansion tank. And as soon as the domestic turned off, the check valve closed, and they couldn't get domestic again. So think about that. For the last 3 months, they've been turning a circulator on every time they wanted to get a shower. The customer understood the problem. The contractor didn't know what the problem was. So that was pretty funny. But anyway, all right. There's my little note, move the circulator pump so you're pumping away, which is what we were all just talking about.
Right?
Because remember, the pump uses the expansion tank as a reference point. Whatever it's set for, it's going to maintain. You have 16 psi, you have 16 psi. It's the way it's laid out.
Tank is your point of no pressure change, and we've covered expansion tanks a dozen times here. And if you're not checking the pressure on your expansion tanks on the air side before you put them in, all these systems with the FTVN and the TRX, and I would suggest now with most boilers, instead of a 12-pound system, you run an 18-pound system because it ensures that your pressure switches that are built in will maintain pressure during run time. All right. So this is not to say that we're not at fault. How was that for a double negative, Ted?
Yeah, that's it.
Hey, you just did that. Was a good one. You just run with this. Keep going. Get past it. Go.
Wait a minute. So
No.
Tyler said even cast iron boilers. Cast iron boilers don't have pressure switches in them, Tyler. So no, you can run a cast iron boiler at 12 pounds. That doesn't matter. Anyway. So this is not to
Hey,
say.
Jason's having a heart attack. What's going on there?
Something couldn't ask. He's sitting right next to me. Couldn't ask me that.
TV90 has pressure switches.
Thank you,
TV90
Tyler.
does, but-
Anyway, so
But-
this is not to say we're not at fault. Keep in mind that we really do care. Everybody on the screen, everybody at NTI, everybody we work with. Ted and I have been with this company, what, 12 years now, Ted?
Yep.
12 years as direct employees, and before that, I was 2 years as the manufacturer's rep. And I can tell you this: that we really do care. Keep that in mind. We're constantly trying to improve as a company, and that's mostly because of your feedback and what Ted and I hear in the field. We take it right back to the factory. Trust me when I say that. Ted and I and Jason are on meetings every Monday, and we discuss everything that you guys tell us. And when I say everything, I mean sometimes the meetings get very long. Keep in mind that we don't manufacture the parts that are inside your boiler. We assemble.
That's
Now,
right.
some
That's right.
Some of the parts we manufacture, but not all the parts do we manufacture.
We don't put them in there.
I don't know what Jason's doing, but I'm about to mute him.
Yeah, you might have to.
Problems we've had may be addressed in technical bulletins, and I'm going to show you the technical bulletins in a minute. So they're located on our website in a little area called the partners area, or the partner section, at www.ntiboilers.com. We've been listening, and believe me, when I say we're taking corrective action, we are taking corrective action. Sometimes in the past, maybe under the Arison rules, maybe the reaction wasn't as fast as with Kevin Dennison, but I can tell you that has speeded up dramatically. So let's look at our partner site. Let's look at www.ntiboilers.com. And in the top right-hand corner, you see a little partner login. If you click on that login, it brings up this window. If you don't have an account, would you be so kind as down the bottom, register for an account and get an account? And when you do and you log in, this is what you see. This is the contractor wholesaler only area that we don't want homeowners to be on, because we don't want them to learn how to clean a boiler or service a boiler. We want you to be able to do that. So Jason, if you would launch poll question number 2 while you're having the sunset there in the distance.
I got it. Dude, I like this. There's a little island over here. He tells me people live over here. I'm like, oh, really? All right, here we go. Poll question number 2 launched.
All right. Did you know about the partner site? This is fairly easy. No. Yes, but I never registered. Yes, but I forgot my password. And yes, but I never use it. So we got 3 variations on yes and a hard no. What are you going to do?
You noticed I did not put in there yes, and I use it every week. You noticed I did not put that there.
No, I noticed that.
Oh my God. Answer the questions, boys.
All right.
Yeah, and
They're
girls.
voting. They're voting.
Time's ticking here. We got 4 more seconds. What's that damn music called?
Jeopardy.
Jason?
You got it. Yep. All right.
Stop.
So we're good. All right. So we have, let me kill my music.
42. What the hell's with the music?
I like that, Jetsons.
Say no. They did not know about the site. 8%.
All right. So we got,
Yes, but I never registered. 17. Yes, but I forgot my password. And 33%. Yes, but I never use it.
all right. So I got to close this. We got 42% that said they didn't know about it.
All right. So let me go back here because Malik asked, where do you go to get onto the partner site? Malik, you go to www.ntiboilerparts.com. In the top right-hand corner of the homepage is the partner login. You click on the partner login, it brings you to this screen. If you do not have an account, if you do, you fill in your username and address, username and email address, you put in your password, and you click login. If you don't have an account, then you simply go here to register at the bottom of the page, and you click register, and then you can, we'll send you a login for it. You then log in, you can get into it. So it's on the ntiboilers.com. So
It
now,
costs you nothing, and there's all kinds of useful information.
Yeah, guys, there's not just, you got to understand, each board has, if Jason or the engineering team makes a change to the firmware of the control, they're going to then put that firmware change, post it on the website as a tech bulletin so that you know that. So if you have an older board and you're experiencing that issue, it may be covered in a new board. That's why everybody, I'm not saying, but we got to go back here. The tech bulletins are the best thing in the world. The partner login. But years ago, we've always sent the tech bulletins to a lot of technicians, and they're used to it. And now they're not getting them. But that's the thing, is us as a team, you got to let us know that you're not getting them. But you guys should know this stuff is, you have a login where it's stuff you're not going to get as a homeowner.
that's correct.
Mom,
Notice notice on the left-hand side, which there's a lot of things on the left-hand side. You can see this slide bar right here. There's a lot more that I'm going to show you in a minute, but see the technical bulletins right here, little arrow pointing technical bulletins. If you click on technical bulletins, it brings this page up. Now you can click on all, or you can click on the model you're working on. There's all those little blocks right there. You click on here. I've clicked on FTVN because we're going to have a little round table here on some FTVN issues. So I've clicked on FTVN and it brings up this page. When I say go,
boom, you got everything, buddy.
Okay, so Jason, don't answer on this because I have some slides coming up and we're going to discuss this as we go on. Okay, so first one, I just put these in the order that they came up on my screen, and I scrolled down. There's a gas valve bulletin, HMI panel bracket improvements, ECM pump software, 2-inch venting, main PCB software update. There was 4 of those, and the last one happened to be 1.0400. TRX and FTVN fittings, cascade instructions, plumbing schematic corrections. TRX FTVN will not go into high fire. FTVN combi won't show any domestic hot water flow. and locking the diverter valve in central heat mode. Now that was the ones listed, right? So far, so good. So I just want to take a look at one of them or two of them, and we're going to discuss some of the others. So this is the gas valve. And you might wonder, why did we come out with a gas valve bulletin? It's because if you read this, reports of being unable to dial in combustion in low fire were reported and investigated. It was found that gas valve's internal regulator guide could come out of its position due to a high impact, possibly during shipping. Once dislodged, leakage occurs, allowing contaminants to enter the valve, preventing the regulator from operating properly. The valve redesign increased the robustness of the regulator body and elongated guides, preventing it from becoming dislodged, thus disallowing contaminants from entering the gas valve. Manufactured from 2022, week 33, and have manufactured improvements. Now, I say that, and when you bring this up, you notice that this right here in the middle of the technical bulletin shows you how to tell what you have and shows you what the problem is. So please, if you have this problem that you can't adjust the low fire, you can go and see this, and you can look at the gas valve, you can see the date code, and you can call the technical department and they'll send you a new gas valve to replace it. Yes, Jason?
I thought he
Or
was waving goodbye.
no, or no way in hell. Or if you set this low fire, you go back because it's locked out on a 501. You need to immediately look at that gas valve, because if the low fire is off, you need to verify that that's not the gas valve in that series. You need to get in there right away. If you go back after, it could happen, but it's going to happen within a month. I'm telling you.
All right, so this happened April of last year, and it shows up when you guys go out and do a combustion analysis on your annual maintenance. So you'll be able to tell it then. So now that in mind, I want to look at the let's for a moment just address a couple other things, because again, we're not perfect. The HMI panel bracket improvements, we've increased the robustness of the brackets that hold the HMI. That's the push button actual screen. And when you push the buttons, if they don't click, it's because the panel has come off the back because of somebody dropping it more than 6 inches, we determined. We've built that bracket heavier and done things to improve that, but now we have a final improvement that we've done the drop test on, and it should be final, and you don't have to take the panel down, press the board back in, and put it back into place. ECM software, this was based on people having lights flashing on some of the earlier models of the Takeo pumps, where Jason will tell you firsthand that 90% of the pumps we got back were working just fine if you just clean the magnetite out of them, and we go back to water quality on that. 2-inch venting, if you read that product bulletin, you would find out that on 2-inch venting.
I had that today. The guy said, he said to me, Uncle Steve, I gotta tell you the story. The guy said to me, he says, the technician, which is a great guy, showed me the pictures. He's like, Jason, what do you think? I said, oh, you got a little magnetite coming out there. And the owner of the building says, oh, no, good water coming to the street. I said, it doesn't matter what's coming from the street, what's in the system. Oh, I'm going to call your boss. I said, whatever, it's in the manual. He works in the manual. I said, probably about 167 times, maybe. I love it. And we went over that. Remember how many times there's warnings in the manual? I showed him. I pulled it right up. So here you go. Have a nice day, sir.
Yep. So 2-inch venting. 2-inch venting, we came out with that because we've approved and gotten tested venting up to 200,000 BTU on all of our boilers on 2-inch venting. Now, I say that, and I will also put this underline. You can vent at 200,000 BTU in 2-inch. The run is very short, and if it was up to me, there's no way in hell I'd ever use 2-inch on a 200,000 BTU boiler. I've already had one problem with combustion because of restriction of air intake and exhaust, and it was only 10 feet. I can tell you that if you don't set up your combustion and you use 2-inch venting, you're screwed. Can you? Yes. Would I? No. But up to 150,000 BTU.
Let me also say this, that all of our 199 or 200,000 BTU boilers come out of the boiler in 3-inch. So you actually would have to push down to go to 2. Just stick with what comes out of the boiler.
Yeah, you know what? Because here's the other deal. If you guys go from 3-inch to 2-inch, now you have to go into parameter 220 and throw a parameter out. It's a reduce that from 65 to 35. Just stay 3-inch. Don't do anything extra. You're giving more. You're gonna have more exhaust and more fresh air coming to the units. It only better. Don't reduce it. If you do not have to, don't do it. I'm sorry. That's my feeling.
Yep.
Don't do it.
So anyway, main PCB software I already talked about. Now let's look at the TRX and the FTVN fittings. And I get a lot of people who have drippy fittings, and I can't say a lot. In the world of boilers, we're still looking at under 1% of the boilers form a leak. I know some of you had more, some of you had less. I can't help that. But we've taken other things beyond this product bulletin I'm about to show you. So this is a product bulletin that we came out with back on March 1st, 2022, that states, let me zoom in on here. You see all the little round circles, right? All the red circles around all the fittings. And it says, for the TRX and the FTVN boilers manufactured prior to and including December 10, 2021, before the boiler is installed, please verify all compression nut fittings inside the boiler cabinet are properly torqued to 50 nanometers or 29.5 foot-pounds. Given that vibration during freight may cause relaxation of the joint, the boilers manufactured after December 10, 2021, NTI has increased the torquing procedure during assembly that might mitigate any issues that may arise during shipping. Now, folks, I'm going to tell you this. A lot of people on this call have used the FTV boiler, which is the exact same gasket, well, prior to COVID. We don't know what's changed during COVID, but the FTV had the same nuts and the same gasket. So what changed? On the FTV, we didn't have torque meters. And on the FTV, they weren't on an assembly line. One guy built the entire boiler, and the way he tightened the nuts down was with a big ass wrench. Now
It was a whole different process. It was a whole different process.
You can try to figure out what 29.5 pounds is, but I'm telling you, just crank the shit out of it. Now, that said, we have gone one step further on this. And as of 6 months ago, after a lot of testing, because I was way against using what looked like a paper gasket, we now use a Kevlar gasket on those connections. Those Kevlar gaskets are available. Ted, Jason, and I have some in our hands. Not many, but we have some. And our tech department has them. If you have a leaky fitting inside the boiler, you're more than welcome to call the tech department and order the Kevlar fitting, the Kevlar gaskets, which I can tell you, Milik is like, wow, these are the best things you guys ever did. And we are switching totally to them. The reason I was against this Kevlar gasket from the beginning was what I went through with a company that might rhyme with Uzbo or Apanor, using what looked like a paper gasket, which it was, and they told you to soak said gasket for 2 hours prior to installing it, which none of us ever did, and they leaked hardware. So these are Kevlar gaskets. They're not paper, they're Kevlar, and they work great. So it's
well, Uncle Steve, the other thing I want to chime in here a second. Not just the gasket, you have to replace the gaskets on the 2 heat exchangers and on the pump. But then, guys, let us know, because we can send you sensors. You're going to replace that bottom sensor. It may have been compromised from the water leaking on it. I mean, water's leaking on the sensor. It may have got damaged. So we may have to send you a sensor or two on top of the gaskets. And let us know how bad it is. You really need to verify how bad the water leak is before you call us. I'm just going out there.
So I can say that the Kevlar gaskets are working well.
Well, they're good.
Again, this only affects less than 1% of boilers sent out, but I know good friends of mine have had this issue. I know good friends of mine who are here tonight have gotten the Kevlar gaskets. I know some people have just tightened them up. I know that the resolutions are all working, and I know we've been on top of it to try to come up with a resolution. So please don't think we're not listening, because we've been working on a solution in the background so we don't have to worry about torque specs. Because with the Kevlar gasket, there's one torque spec. The nut stops. That's it. There's no torque spec. It's like metal to metal. Hey, Keepa, just tighten it up and rock and roll with it. Ted and Jason, I'm just going to go back here a second. Do you have anything to add on any of these before I move on to parts availability?
No, I mean, I would say you covered all the high points. Obviously, if you're going to do cascading, the instructions are there. And certainly, tech support, we can help you through it, but it's really pretty simple. I mean, setting it up, if you read the instructions, beyond that.
Like locking the boiler.
You know, is the locking the diverter valve.
That's on there. That's on the partner login, right under your FTDN. It's on there.
Ted just said that. Jason,
yeah.
Ted just said that. Yeah.
Yeah, you cover everything, Steve. I mean,
these are all the technical bulletins that are under the FTVN. That's all of them that are listed.
Really, and if you have any other series, you just go to the heading for that series, like Steve showed you at the beginning. Every boiler we made has, or you can look at all of them if you got nothing else to do and you want to do a lot of technical reading.
Steve, you'll like this one. I gotta tell you about this one. Nobody knows, but Steve's famous for one of those tech bulletins. I'll go back a little bit, Steve. You'll remember once I start talking about it. You and I and Steve were on the phone with Jason in Regalsville, Cooper Mechanical. Oh yeah, here it comes. Here it comes. 285 LP system, multi-vent, and we watched the flame signal drop out. They came out. Jason went and upgraded the flame signal, the flame sensor on a TAFTA 285, just because of the job we were on with an LP system. I remember that.
Actually, he didn't change the sensor. What actually happened is the resistor got put into the line going over to the flame sensor.
Did you remember that? That was something that we were on.
To increase the flame signal so the board could read it. So, yeah.
And that was something so simple.
And I've written.
I think it's a good example of hearing a problem from the field, and our engineering department is very nimble. They jumped right on it.
And he did.
So, all right, good. So, by the way, I should say, see the locking diverter valve on the CH mode? Now, I left that on here because that's in the tech bulletins. And the reason I did that is because Ted and I, long ago, when we first came out with this, when the TX default position for the diverter valve was central heat, whereas on the TRX and the FTVN, the default position is domestic hot water, because they felt that domestic hot water has to be first, which is true. It stopped the delay between heating and domestic for the stepper valve to move. What we didn't realize is that the technology being used on that says, I want to close the valve, I want to close the valve, I want to close it, which is causing chattering and bang within the system. Especially like on a job I was on the other day that had no low loss header, had 3 pumps on the supply side and the pump in the boiler. When any of those pumps ran, it cycled through the boiler and it was really fast. And when that stepper valve closed, it slapped no matter what position that was in. We rewrote the software 4 or 5 times to make sure that we stopped the slapping noise and the banging noise and the chattering noise. It's all settable within the software. And that is what's drove Ted and I to have them draw up this product bulletin on locking the diverter valve in the central heat mode. If you do not use the boiler for domestic, whether it's heating or combi, if you're not using domestic, please follow these directions, which say, give it a call for heat, wait till the valve travels all the way down to the heating mode and disconnect the electric cord. But you can read that product bulletin instead. Right, Ted?
There you go. There it is in a nutshell.
And Ted and I were very influential on coming up with this, because we've been telling people to do that for 3 years. Anyway, let's move on here and let's talk.
Do simple. Come on.
All right.
How's that beer?
Parts availability.
How's that beer?
It's fine. It's good. It's like I rated it. It's a 3.2. Okay. So
Would do.
yes, In the last, so we've been horrible on parts since last June. Absolutely horrible. Absolutely 100%. We've been sucking the back end of a donkey for 6 to 12 months on parts. Absolutely. But let me tell you what we've been doing. So our tech department now can ship you the parts that they suggest for you to replace. And when they give you the option to buy it locally or have them ship it, tell them to ship it. Keep in mind that overnight air from Canada is 3 days because of customs. We can't change that. If we have it in one of our local, in one of our stateside distribution centers, we may or may not send it from those depending on your need for heat or lack of domestic. We're taking steps to improve it. And I can tell you this, that Ted and I have both seen, and so has Jason, in the past 2 months and mostly the last 30 days, that our parts delivery has taken a dramatic turn for the best, which has been phenomenal.
Oh,
Ted and I are not used to this shit. We've been here 12 years and we've never had this problem. So now all of a sudden the problem's improving because of stuff that we, the 3 people you see on your screen, and 6 other people across North America, all delivered the same message to management that said, either get this shit correct or everyone's leaving, and that may include us. So now first thing we did was he designated a person in charge of parts. Alan's been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal on following through on stuff. We reallocated parts for manufacturing and parts for sale, meaning that if we're manufacturing boilers, meaning, let's say we're doing an FTVN 110 combi. We're building them. We're building 100 of them today. And you need a stepper valve. They wouldn't know to go get the stepper valve out of manufacturing because there's no way to reallocate it. Now we have a way to reallocate parts that are for parts replacement or for manufacturing. We now can switch them back and forth between the two. It's an amazing thing. Might not sound like anything to you, but it's huge in our world where everything's software driven. We have increased inventory dramatically, absolutely dramatically. They have air freighted parts in to make up for parts we did not have because we couldn't wait for the container to get here with all our parts, and they spent the money at NTI to ship those parts over via air to make sure we had them. And we have found inventory. You might say, what found inventory? You know, we had 90 blowers that were slated for manufacturing on a product that we discontinued, and we shipped said 90 blowers down to our other plant in Sussex where we make our steel boilers. And we haven't had that blower for 2 months. And I call up and talk to Alan. Alan calls our head of production, who happens to be in Sussex, and says, why don't we have this part number? And he says, I don't know. I'm standing in front of a pallet of 90 of these blowers. I'll have it transferred down. In fact, when I leave this afternoon, I'll bring you 2 blowers so you can send Steve's customer 1. Again, if Ted and I and Jason, and I circle in more on Ted and I, if we don't know about it, we can't help you. But I can tell you this, that every customer has come to me that said, I'm waiting for this part for 4, we've been able to get it. We've been able to make sure it's gotten to you without a problem. If it hadn't already been shipped, we've been able to send it. So, and then know what part you're looking for. If tech does not give you the part number, which they will, but if you're in front of a boiler and you think you need a part, then you got to go back to the partner site or back to our website. On the partner sites down the bottom, it says Parts Finder. You can go to this on the regular website, which is www.ntiboilerparts. And watch this, folks. You can put in the model number that you want and what you're looking for, and it will show you a picture of what you're looking for. It'll actually give you the directions to put it in. It'll tell you everything the boiler fits. And if any of you are a wholesaler that are on here tonight, if you get a login, which if you're one of our wholesalers or reps, you already have, if you're like, say, work for aprsupply.com, so your email is johndoe@aprsupply.com, because your customer, you'll instantly get your login and it will actually show you the current list price. It will not show you inventory level. It will only show you the current list price of that product, but it'll also give you the directions and a picture of it.
Steve,
Yes.
can you make that picture a little bigger?
No?
But that's a great. The reason I'm saying because that picture you have there is great because you guys are working in the field. When you look at the gas valve, you'll know exactly what you're working on. That's why I love our website for parts because you can exactly know what you're working on. On my screen it looks little, so I was just wondering if you can make it bigger.
One caveat to all of this is that supply chains throughout the world are still disrupted. And if we don't have the part, we can't send you the part. And it's not because we don't want to, it's because there are certain parts that we're having a very hard time getting.
That's right.
Alternative sources, but nonetheless, the supply chain has not yet completely returned to pre-COVID levels. Just saying. All right. So understand that.
That's a great point.
So,
great point. And the other thing, stop. I want to be corrected wrong. Tyler just showed me it can get bigger. So it's a user error. I want to go on record that it was user error.
Well, on the website, you can make it bigger. You can't make it bigger in a presentation, I think is what we're getting at. On the website, it very clearly says, click to enlarge. That's what that means.
I'm not on the website. These are screenshots that I did, so I didn't have to worry about my bandwidth.
Yeah, it's kind of hard. I know.
That's what I was.
Anyway, so let me roll on here. I'll only have a slide or two more. So I just want to say, here's our commitment to you. Every manufacturer has problems. I don't care what manufacturer you buy from. I don't care whose manufacturing boiler you think you want to switch to. But every boiler manufacturer has problems. The difference is how said manufacturer handles the problem. Please give us a chance to prove ourselves. I know it took Ted and I and the other regional sales managers and Jason to get it through to upper management, the severity of what we're dealing with in the field and the responses we need and the quickness we need to get things done. But please know that we're there and we care. We know at times the problems can be frustrating. We really do. Trust me, Ted and I and Jason to some point know the frustration you're feeling. Why? Because thank God you guys have told us so we can take that frustration and send it back to the factory. So please don't stop that. Please make sure we know if you have problems, what you need us to do. We never shy away from anything. I don't think there's a phone call that Ted and I have never returned. We have returned every single phone call, every single text, every single email that we have ever received. So please don't stop communicating to us because we won't know otherwise. We can help, just give us the chance. So we're improving and making every attempt to get back to zero problems. Trust me when I hear that the last commitment I have, I see results, and so does Ted. We made this very clear at our meeting when we were in Orlando. We see a lot of results coming out of what you've been telling us and what we've been passing back to the factory. Trust me on that. And unresolved issues, call us.
Well,
if you have a problem with something, if you have a problem with something and it's unresolved, please involve us. Don't stew over it. Send us an email, send us a text saying, hey, I've had a problem getting this part, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's not necessarily us. Sometimes somebody hasn't cut the PO or it took them a week to send us the purchase order for your part. I'm not saying anybody on this screen has ever done that. I'm just saying that let us follow up on it. I'm sorry, Jason, you have to go to the bathroom. Is that why your hand's up?
I'm waiting for you done. Then I got something to say.
No, really?
Come on, hurry up.
I'm waiting for you, Jace.
All right, so here's the deal. If you guys are having a problem, we are not going to know unless you tell us. Don't feel like you're going to get somebody in trouble. You need to tell Steve and Uncle Ted or I got to throw Kyle in there because he's kind of in the territory now. You got to throw it out to these guys because if they don't know, how are they going to help you out? I'm sorry. That's all I got to say. If you guys are having a problem, don't just call one person. Call everybody. Say, listen, I'm having a problem, so I need help with it. I'm just being honest. They're not psychic. If he was psychic or that one was psychic, I'd ask him for the lotto numbers. I'm sure they'd give them to me. So I'm just throwing it out there. That's only my pet peeve is you guys are having problems. You need to let us know the problems you're having, which you have done in the past, like the leaky fittings, slamming. You forgot the slamming three-way valve when
We
the
talked
pump
about
changed.
no. We talked about the slamming. You apparently weren't listening.
No, I was listening, but I was just saying you talked about all these problems, but these problems. And number one is I remember two people coming to a meeting on Monday saying, "Listen, we have a problem with the three-way valve slamming," and the two guys are on the screen right now, Steve and Ted. Both had the problem, and it came up in a meeting, and Jason just took it and ran with it. Bigger Jason ran with it, and he figured it out. But that's you guys got to understand it's a different way at NTI. And if these guys have been around, I'm sorry guys, been around a long time, and I'm not no spring chicken, but that's the thing. They're not going to know you're having a problem unless you tell them. I just like that how you brought that up. I thought that was really nice, Steve, that you said, how are you going to know what's going on if you don't tell us? That's perfect. I mean that's how these tech bulletins started. From what I understand, that's how they started. Like, let us know.
Absolutely. So it's 5 after 8. We've gone 5 minutes over. Thank you, Jason. And I just want
Let's
to
go
say
find.
this. The poll question number 3 is not a poll question at all. I simply want to say to you guys that Ted and I and Jason have been listening to you. We've been passing everything along. We hope that you found some of this information enlightening, that you have another place to go for information before you commit Harry Carey. I suggest that you guys go on the partner website occasionally and download the most recent product bulletins so you know what may or may not be a problem. Don't let the sky be falling, because some of those tech bulletins deal with stuff that's 3 years old. Some of it's somewhere in the middle. Most recently, we don't have any tech bulletins on. So don't let the sky fall on you and think that's the problem. I don't want you for a minute to get zero, just circle it and say that must be the problem. Don't do that.
What was that cartoon they used to have in the old days? What was it? The chicken something was the
Chicken
world
Little.
was falling.
Yeah, it's okay. Chicken Little. Yeah. Anyway, the sky's always falling. So anyway, please keep that in mind when you do these, but know that they're there so that we can help you, because they may have been a problem that reached almost 1% we needed to address. So the problems today, I can tell you, in some of my territories, I have 0 gasket leaks. I got my largest wholesaler has never had a gasket leak in their life. Maybe they read the product bulletin. I don't know, but they've never had it. And I have some areas that have the sky's falling. Please take your time. Ted and I have ways to reward you for your patience. I'm sure that Ted knows what I mean when I say that, because we don't pay labor warranty. Although I know that if you
I'm glad you
make
didn't
sure you
include me in that
document,
conversation.
Jason, zip it. We know that if you have continual calls and they're logged and you have cases to technical, I know that if you discuss that with them, they may or may not approve labor. So please don't think you're on your own. Ted and I have ways to work around them. We can make it happen. Please enjoy. And I'm just going to throw this up here
One
just at the end.
last thing, as a corollary to what Steve was saying, though, and as important, is that when you talk to tech support, be sure that you provide a serial number. They should log it, and that if the question does come up somewhere down the road, God, I've had endless problems with this. Can you guys do something for me? It's a lot handier to have seen a history of problems than when we say, oh, well, yeah, somebody called once about an igniter. That it's a tougher argument for us if there's no record on that boiler.
Yep.
Well, for instance, like the call I went through today, Ted, that numerous people have been out to, and myself to replace the burner door and recommended a new burner door. But it was something as simple as an adjustment that made the boiler run. That it's that communication. I was able to go through everything and see everybody's notes. What I'm saying is I was helpful. When you
Yes.
guys listen, I know you don't want to hear what's the serial number. That's the first thing you want to hear. But that's what they need. That's like the link.
Well, that's
The
how
master.
it gets tracked. It doesn't get tracked by name. It doesn't get tracked by address. It doesn't
Serial
get
number.
tracked by magic. It gets tracked by serial number.
And the first thing Carrie asked when she wants a part or set out, what's the serial number? We have to have that. So it's important.
All right, Steve,
So
where are we?
that's it, boys.
Thanks for watching the video today. If you'd like to check out more videos, see the link below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for all the future updates. And also check us out on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.